from being sexually molested multiple times by Hollywood film directors since when she was just 15 to being forced into years of depression that almost destroyed all she suffered for. In this video, we will share some of Reese Witherspoon's untold life stories while showing you some of her rare photos. Without further ado, let's get started. Reese made her breakthrough into Hollywood at a very young age.
I do know what makes a good movie. I've been standing on movie sets since I was 14 years old.
She has cemented herself not only as one of the most successful actors of our time, but also as one of the richest Hollywood stars of all time. Her net worth is estimated to be around $440 million, which according to Forbes, makes her the richest self-made female actress in the world. But Reese's road to stardom had been a tumultuous one right from day one. You could say that she was dumped into the deep end without a life jacket, and it is only a miracle that she didn't drown. Her very first role was in the 1991 film The Man in the Moon. She was only 14 when filming started and 15 when the movie was released. Just watch how sweet and innocent she was. But already, the pressures of Hollywood were weighing down on her hard.
It's tough sometimes because, I mean, people want to make you have like all these big decisions and stuff that you want to do this script, you want to do that, and it's tough. And finally, I just kind of sit down and say, I don't know, I'm 15 years old, you figure out for me.
Just the next year when she was 16, the sweet girl you just saw in that interview would live one of the darkest moments in her life when she was sexually assaulted by a film director. For the longest time, Reese didn't have the courage to speak about it. Her own silence haunted her just as much, revealing in an interview, "A lot of the feelings I've been having about anxiety, about being honest, the guilt for not speaking up earlier or taking action, true disgust at the director who assaulted me when I was 16 years old, and anger that I felt at the agents and the producers who made me feel that silence was a condition of my employment." It wasn't until decades later that she finally summoned the courage to share her own story and to raise awareness.
I have been very open that I was assaulted. It's important that people know. You can see I'm very emotional about it. Silence helps the tormentors. It doesn't help the tormented.
That wasn't the first or the last time Reese would face sexual harassment in Hollywood, saying in an interview, "And I wish I could tell you that that was an isolated incident in my career, but sadly, it wasn't." It was around that same time that Reese started struggling with depression and anxiety. As she once shared in a podcast, "I think I was 16 when I started therapy. I definitely had anxiety. My anxiety manifests as depression, so I would get really depressed." Despite the therapy, her anxiety and depression have become a lifelong battle for the actress. "My brain is like a hamster on a wheel and it won't come off. And I've been managing it my entire life," she explained.
Sometimes I'm totally overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. I'll lay on the floor and cry, or I'll sit in my car and cry.
As you can see, her acting career had been an emotional nightmare and a roller coaster ride right from the onset. And we mean that both figuratively and literally. For the 1996 film, Fear, starring opposite Mark Wahlberg, Reese was outright forced to do a very sexual scene on a roller coaster. She was just 19 at the time and was forced to do it completely against her will. She was so uncomfortable with the act that she begged for them to use a body double, but they refused. "It wasn't explicit in the script that that's what was going to happen," she said in a 2023 interview. "So that was something that I think the director thought of on his own, and then asked me on set if I would do it, and I said no. It wasn't a particularly great experience." It might be easy for us to think, why didn't she just refuse to do the scene? But it is a lot more complicated than that. There is often a great power play at work in Hollywood between directors or producers and actors, and it is often hard for actors to say no to powerful producers, especially young actresses who are new to the business and desperate not to set a foot wrong in the industry. Today, there are professionals called intimacy coordinators. Their roles are as the name suggests. They coordinate intimate, explicit scenes on movie sets to ensure that film stars are treated fairly and respectfully, and that they aren't forced to do anything against their will. However, there was no such thing as an intimacy coordinator around in the 90s and 2000s when Reese was forced to do her roller coaster scene. If there had been, it would have saved her a great deal of pain and trauma. Reese's late teens and early 20s was a deeply unhappy time in her life. Apart from the dark times she had already suffered in her young career, she struggled to land the kind of roles she was really interested in. This turned her bitter and jealous toward other actresses. In her own words, Reese was very competitive and jealous of other women and not supportive. I was really unhappy. I was not seeing the abundance of opportunity. Unfortunately for Reese, this struggle was only about to get harder, a lot harder. At age 22, she fell pregnant. She was unmarried and already facing a tough time in Hollywood. This was one of the most frightful and terrifying times in her life. To be totally honest, it was scary. I was scared. I didn't know what it was going to do to my job or my career, she said. In fact, Reese was seriously worried that it could spell the end of her future as an actress. Even though she was already an established actress by then, she wasn't so famous yet that she could make demands and have film studios jump at each snap of her fingers. Speaking to Drew Barrymore, Reese said, "To be completely candid, I was terrified. I made movies, but I hadn't established myself as someone who could demand that it shoot close to my kid's school. I didn't have any real power or leverage within my industry." The father of the child was Ryan Phillippe. The two had first met in 1997 and they got engaged a year later. However, they did not tie the knot until only a few months before Reese gave birth. On September 9, 1999, Reese and Ryan welcomed their first child together, Ava Elizabeth Philippe. Even though she was now married, she still felt like she was raising the baby on her own. More than that, she once again faced her old foe, depression.
I felt more depressed than I'd ever felt in my entire life. And it was scary. I had to take pretty heavy medication because I just wasn't thinking straight at all.
In a podcast interview, the star declared,
I was 23 years old when I had my first baby, and no one explained to me that when you wean a baby, your hormones go into the toilet.
In 2003, the couple welcomed another baby, Deacon Reese Philippe. On top of everything, Reese struggled with the horrific demands of fame. She could not leave the house without paparazzi harassing her and destroying any sense of a private life.
My car got hit and I got run off the road, and they were trying to force me off the road to get pictures. And
while from the outside, Reese and Ryan seemed like the perfect Hollywood couple, things were not all sunshine and roses behind the curtains. Their marriage was falling apart. Many rumors swirled around as to why, like rumors that Ryan had cheated on Reese with actress Abby Cornish. Ryan denied these accusations, saying, "I'm not a perfect person, but I'm not guilty of a lot of the things I have been accused of. My priority is, and always has been, the health and safety of my family." Although shortly after Reese and Ryan split in 2006, Ryan and Abby did actually start dating, so one has to wonder. Another reason for their split, as rumor had it, was the fact that Reese was more famous and successful than Ryan.
You make more than I do, go ahead.
If fans were shocked that Ryan so quickly started dating again right after their divorce, then who knows what they thought about Reese. Because not too long after their separation, Reese got hitched to Jake Gyllenhaal. The two dated until November 2009, before they too eventually went their separate ways. Once again, Reese didn't wait long to get back in the love game. In 2010, she met successful talent agent Jim Toth, and the two got married less than a year later. Reese and Tim welcomed their only child together in 2012, a boy named Tennessee James Toth. In 2013, Reese suffered public humiliation and embarrassment. Fans who thought she was Little Miss Goody Two-Shoes who could do no wrong were in for a big surprise and maybe even a bit of a disappointment. While on an evening out with her husband, the two had a bit too much of a good time and was arrested for driving under the influence. Worse for Reese, her unacceptable behavior was caught on camera.
You better not arrest me.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you kidding me?
No, I told you.
I'm an American citizen.
I told you to get in that car and stay in there, didn't I?
This is beyond.
I
This
told
is
you.
beyond.
You fight with me. I promise
This
you.
is harassment.
Yes,
You're
it's
harassing me as an
I've
American
given you
citizen.
every...
Reese even tried to throw her weight around as a celebrity and to use her fame to get off the hook. But it was to no avail. Fans were seriously concerned for her given her mad rants and ravings with officers. Frankly, it didn't sound anything like the Reese Witherspoon that fans know and love.
And I said all kinds of crazy things. I told him I was pregnant. I'm not pregnant. I said crazy things.
I am pregnant, early pregnant. It's an early pregnancy.
Reese publicly apologized for her behavior and for how poorly she treated the police officers, admitting in the interview how deeply ashamed she felt of herself.
Just completely unacceptable, and we are so sorry and embarrassed, and we know better.
Her marriage to Jim Toth was also not to last. In March 2023, the couple announced their divorce on Instagram, writing, "We have enjoyed so many wonderful years together and are moving forward with deep love, kindness, and mutual respect for everything we have created together." It's clear that Reese has been very unlucky in love.
I'm old enough now to know that I don't know anything about love or relationships. I mean, I think as you get older, you realize I thought I knew everything and now I know nothing, so.
She has also opened up in the past about being in an abusive relationship, although she did not share with whom. When asked by Oprah what was the single biggest decision she had to make for herself to fulfill her own destiny, Reese's answer was simple.
For me, probably leaving an abusive relationship. It's something, so a line got drawn in the sand and it got crossed and my brain just switched and I knew it was going to be very difficult, but I just couldn't go any further.
If you are surprised by Reese's tragic Hollywood story, you will be equally surprised by her childhood. It's not what you might imagine. Reese has always been the epitome of a good girl. We all probably imagine her growing up behind a white picket fence, a pure American dream childhood. But actually, she didn't have a normal childhood. In fact, she hardly had any childhood at all. Laura Jean Reese Witherspoon was born a thoroughbred Southern girl in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1976. Reese has one older brother, John, born in 1972. Her father, John Draper Witherspoon, was a military surgeon. Her mother, Betty, was a nurse. For the first 4 years of her life, the family lived in Wiesbaden, Hesse, Germany. There, her father was a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserves. While her parents weren't poor, Reese's mother was a very thrifty woman. "So I always had my brother's hand-me-down clothes and hand-me-down bike," Reese said. So as a result, Reese would often wear boys' clothes, admitting that her mother didn't even try to adapt it a little bit to make it more girlish. But young Reese didn't particularly mind all that much, sharing in an interview, "I was the biggest tomboy. I was such a tomboy. I was a tree climber, I picked up frogs, I love bugs. I spent half of my life at a creek, picking up crawdads and following a bunch of boys." Growing up, she had big dreams, and not the kind of things that girls her age usually dream about. Instead of becoming an actress, Reese had somewhat surprising ambitions.
Was that the President of the United States?
Yeah, I wanted
Or
to be.
was it Dolly Parton?
Well, I wanted to be Dolly Parton.
And wanted to be Willie Nelson's girlfriend.
I didn't want to be Willie Nelson's girlfriend.
Alas, those dreams were a bit outlandish, so Reese had to focus on things she actually could do. At the age of 7, she began modeling, which helped her to land appearances in several local television adverts. When she was 11, she won a 10-state talent fair. After that, Reese's childhood was pretty much over. At age 14, she landed her first role in The Man in the Moon, and her career took off immediately right after that. Today, Reese is one of the wealthiest self-made women in the world. Not only is she the fun-loving, heartwarming actress we all know and love, but she is also a serious film producer. With over 60 acting credits to her name and over 30 credits as producer, Reese has overcome every obstacle that life has thrown her way. Did you know that Reese Witherspoon's journey to fame and success came at such a high price? What about her personal life surprised you the most? If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll also enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one.